All right, guys, it's Dr. Green. It's Wade. Hello. Okay, so as promised, here is the neurovascular lecture that I alluded to in class today. So let's jump right in, right? So this is the not so basic basics. The reason why I worded it that way is that, obviously the brachial plexus is complex, but if we can get this down, you guys are going to be head and shoulders obviously above your peers. This is something that even medical students struggle to learn, but God willing, we will break this down in such a way to where it is digestible. Okay, here we go. Oops. There we go. All right, guys. So ultimately, right, the anatomy of the brachial plexus is described and laid out in relation to the axillary artery. Okay, so the axillary artery comes right off of the subclavian artery. Okay, so if I'm like standing here, right, so I've got my left common carotid, my right brachiocephalic, and my left subclavian. Okay, so the subclavian artery goes beneath the clavicle through the thoracic outlet, okay, and becomes the axillary artery. And all of our neural anatomy, particularly in regards to the brachial plexus, is going to be described as anterior, posterior, relative to the axillary artery. So remember that, okay? Really quickly, though, talking about examining, obviously, blood flow, as we did in class today, right? So the clearly, we've got pulses that we can check at the radial pulse as well as the ulnar pulse, right? And then obviously we have cap refill in the fingers as well. So I think we're all comfortable with that. So we'll get into the brachial plexus. Okay, here's the deal. So anytime we talk about the brachial plexus, we know, as we mentioned earlier in class, that we're talking about nerve roots C5 through T1. That is what classically makes up the brachial plexus. There are some exceptions to that. There are some anatomical variations. We're going to touch on that like extremely briefly later on in the PowerPoint. Okay, but ultimately C5 through T1 is what we're talking about. So the brachial plexus is made up of different, obviously, divisions, and we'll talk about that as well. Okay, but C5 through T1, and it's through the brachial plexus, as we talked about, that every single nerve in the arm arises from. So the brachial, if it doesn't come from the brachial plexus, it doesn't innervate the arm. Okay. Okay. But like we talked about today, that man is Randy Travis. Randy Travis drinks cold beer. As you can see in the picture, he's asking for one right now. He says, "Excuse me, can I get a beer?" And he wants them to bring him a beer, and he wants it cold, right? Clearly, no. However, right, this is a way that we can remember the anatomy of the brachial plexus. So Randy Travis drinks cold beer. We got a little spotted cow right there. I moved to Wisconsin, and I like spotted cow. I didn't think I was going to like it, but I like spotted cow. I don't know why I'm telling you this. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, anyway, that's why I chose that. So, okay. So Randy Travis drinks cold beer. Okay, roots. So C5 through T1, those are our nerve roots. Okay. Then we have trunks. I will talk to you about the trunks. We'll explain those. Divisions. Okay. Cords and branches. Okay. Roots, trunks, divisions, cords, branches. All right. Okay, guys, this is where you need to buckle up because things get a little hairy. All right. So the trunks, we know the roots. The roots are C5 through T1. We all know that. Okay. But there is a way that we can describe the trunks, divisions, and cords. All right, here we go. Okay. So we have 3 trunks. Okay. We have the superior trunk that arises from C5, C6. So C5, C6 is superior. So the superior trunk, C7, the middle trunk. Okay. C8, T1, the lower trunk. C5, C6, superior trunk. C7, middle trunk, C8, T1, lower trunk. Okay, so we have 5 roots, 3 trunks. Now, really important, so we've covered the trunks, okay? Divisions. All right, believe it or not, there are only 2. I know I have 3 circles here. Let me explain what that means. So the blue circles in this drawing represent the anterior branch, okay, anterior branch. The purple circle in the back represents the posterior branch. Sorry, division, excuse me. So blue circles, anterior divisions, purple circle, posterior divisions. Okay. All right. One thing to keep in mind. The posterior division, okay, from the posterior division arises the posterior cord and the radial nerve. Okay. So we talked about in class today how the radial nerve innervates the posterior forearm, okay, and the thumb. Well, very interesting. The radial nerve arises from the posterior division and the posterior cord. Okay, right off the posterior cord. So radial nerve, posterior cord, posterior division of the brachial plexus. Now, anterior division, we can see gives rise to, okay, the medial and the lateral cord. All right. And from the lateral cord, okay, we have the musculocutaneous nerve. Okay, so obviously more lateral. This cord is more lateral away from the midline from the lateral cord, okay, which comes from the anterior division. Okay, so from the lateral cord, we have musculocutaneous and axillary. Okay, now if we have musculocutaneous and axillary, what do we already know about those from today? Okay, sheriff's patch, C5, C6. Okay, set the deltoid. All right. Now, also musculocutaneous nerve, sensation to the bicep, elbow flexion. Okay. All right. And then obviously, okay, we have our medial cord, which gives rise to the median and ulnar nerves. Okay. So let's move on to the next one here. All right. What is this? So we have these rectangles and squares. Okay. Red ones and blue ones. What? Okay. These are the collateral nerves of the brachial plexus. Before you freak out, and don't, okay, the collateral nerves are nerves, okay, that either have an innervation to the scapular musculature and do not enter the arm, okay, do not enter the arm, or enter the arm and have a purely sensory function. 2 things: a collateral nerve either does not enter the arm, but innervates the periscapular musculature, okay, or provides sensation to the arm, but no motor function whatsoever. Okay, examples of that down here. Let me just point some of these things out to you. All right, and I've got a table for you on the next slide. So, medial antebrachial cutaneous supplies sensation to the forearm. Okay. All right. Okay. Brachial cutaneous. All right. Medial brachial cutaneous. Okay. Supplies sensation to the inside of the arm. All right. Now, interestingly enough, we talked about dermatomes in class. All right. And if we take a look at the root from which the medial brachial nerve arises, it arises from T1 down here. And if you go back and look at your dermatome chart in Starkey, it's going to tell you T1. Okay. All right. But what about these guys here? Okay. So for example, we have the dorsal scapular nerve. Okay. Suprascapular nerve. This guy innervates the elected levator scapulae that causes us to elevate our scapula. Okay. We have the supraclavicular nerve. All right. I'm sorry, forgive me. We have the, sorry guys, I'm drawing a blank. One sec. All right. Sorry, suprascapular nerve right there. Okay. And then obviously here, okay, we have the nerve to the subclavius. So this is actually the nerve that goes right down underneath uh, the clavicle, right? Number 4, lateral pectoral nerve. Okay. Then we come down here to this grouping down here at the bottom. Okay. So we have um, lateral subscapular nerve. Okay. We have our actually medial pectoral nerve here. We have our thoracodorsal nerve here, innervates our lat. Okay. And then we also have our lower subscapular nerve. All right. And then we come over here. What's this big papa over here on the medial side? Okay. The long thoracic nerve, right? Long thoracic nerve. All right. So we know that the collaterals, okay, they either innervate the scapular musculature or our 2 little blue boxes, the only exception. They provide sensation to the arm, but no motor function. All right, here we go. So we can see that kind of borne out here a little bit. We've broken it down. Okay, once again, brachial plexus, 5 roots. Okay, superior trunk arises from 5, 6. Middle trunk arises from 7. Inferior trunk arises from CAT1. Okay, we have 2 divisions. Okay, we have an anterior division and a posterior division. We know that the radial nerve arises from the posterior division. Okay, median nerve and ulnar nerve arise from the anterior division. Okay, which turns into the lateral cord, which gives rise to the musculocutaneous nerve. All right, and then also obviously medial cord, which gives rise to the ulnar nerve and the median nerve as well. Okay, there are times, like I told you guys, that we were going to kind of go over, okay, where we have anatomical variants. You won't, I mean, this is more just for you to know. Okay, we have a prefixed brachial plexus sometimes where C4 actually joins the plexus. So the plexus then becomes C4 to T1 instead of C5 to T1. Okay, that's called a prefixed brachial plexus. Postfixed brachial plexus is where T2 joins the plexus at the bottom. Okay, and the plexus is then made up of C5 to T2. Those are the most common anatomical variants. You might actually see that if you have a patient down the road, you know, who has maybe some innervation, if they have an EMG done ever, and they have some innervation to the arm actually from C4, you might see that. So just something to be aware of. Okay, so what I've actually done here is I've actually numbered out the collateral nerves for you, corresponding to the diagram with their names. Okay, once again, just know collateral nerves of the brachial plexus have one of 2 functions. They either innervate the periscapular musculature and do not travel into the arm, or are only 2 exceptions. Okay, medial brachiocutaneous and medial antebrachiocutaneous, which travel into the arm but provide sensation only. Okay. All right. Then I've got you guys a nice little table here. Obviously, C5 corresponds to our axillary nerve, our lateral deltoid Sheriff's patch. Okay. And the musculocutaneous nerve, bicep sensation. Our myotoma is shoulder abduction. We want them to set the deltoid. Okay. Like we talked about in class, set the deltoid. All right. And here's the deal. With our shoulder subluxations and dislocations, that axillary nerve is most common injured, right? With those subluxations and dislocations. So we want to make sure that we're checking that every time. They got to set the deltoid. Okay. C6. Okay, musculocutaneous bicep sensation, median nerve, okay, index, middle, and medial half of ring. Or I'm sorry, yeah, lateral half of ring. Sorry, guys. Um, I'll fix that. Yeah. And so obviously reflex there is brachialis. We can do elbow flexion and or wrist flexion actually to check that. Okay, verbal cue, go ahead and pull your elbow up, right? Or pull your wrist up. All right. Radial nerve, okay, posterior arm and thumb. Remember, comes off of the posterior division of the brachial plexus. All right. So interestingly enough, integrates the posterior arm and thumb extension. Okay. Reflex is our tricep reflex, and our verbal cue is give me a thumbs up. And then we try to hold. Okay. All right. C8. Okay. Ulnar nerve, lateral ring, finger and pinky. So we got our, dang it, I did it again. Sorry, you guys, I'll fix that. So medial ring finger rather. Okay. And the pinky. All right. So the myotomy is opposition. Okay. Right there. We're going to try to break that opposition. Okay, no reflex there. And our verbal cue is go ahead and pinch and hold for me. And then we test bilaterally for symmetry. All right, last one. Okay, ulnar nerve, the branches that innervate the intrinsic hand muscles, that's T1. Okay, so finger abduction. Okay, can't break these spirit fingers, right? You're going to hold those right there and squeeze. All right, no reflex there. We're going to have the patient spread their fingers and hold. We're going to squeeze and try to break those spirit fingers. Hopefully we can't. Okay. Okay, a couple references for you guys there. Not just making this stuff up. Okay. But that's it. Okay. I know I kind of zipped through this and I'm sorry I'm whispering, it's late and I don't want to wake up people. So I hope you guys are having a good evening and I'll see you in the morning.